Hello, storytellers and story lovers. I'm Heather, and today is a special episode because this is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while now. I'm going to be talking about my process of planning to achieve. I mentioned this process in an earlier video about how it's helping me become a published author and to achieve my dreams in life. I've also written about this in a blog. You can go to my blog and read about what are the in-betweeny steps to achieving my dreams or goals. So I use this process to help me with any skill or talent or thing that I want to learn or accomplish. And I had this idea years ago, and it's only been recently that I've actually been able to put it into action. And actually, the last few years, I've noticed that a couple of other people or groups, organizations, and companies have also come out with their own progress or plan to do this. And I think that's great that we're all kind of thinking alike. But this one in particular is the one that I use. And so I'll be walking you through that. I do plan on making a booklet so that you can actually maybe write out and keep track of your own progress as you pick anything that you want to learn about or achieve with your life. So, as I mentioned, I came up with this years ago, like when I was a teenager, maybe young adult. So, you know, the typical question, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, I had lots of things that I was interested in, and everybody kept saying, oh, just pick one. Well, even when I would pick just one, I didn't know how to get from my beginning self to my end achieving dream, I've accomplished this, I've arrived spot. You know, I didn't know how to go from A to Z. And I didn't know how to fill in all these other steps in order to achieve it. And everybody, of course, was like, oh, of course, go to college, you know, make sure you have good grades, and then, you know, you're fine, you learn everything. Well, yes, but not necessarily. Back in that time, and I know that sounds weird because I sound like I'm ancient, um, but if you look at it over the last 10, even 20 years, technology and our knowledge of things has vastly jumped. And so, like, even if you went to college, there still was certain things that maybe you could go into career wise as a career path. You still had to like really outsource and find someone with those skills. And like YouTube was barely kicking off, so that wasn't a source that you could use to know or find out any of this information. You still had to go to the library and look up like thousands of books and read a ton of that to maybe understand this particular skill or talent that you wanted to develop or learn about, this thing that you wanted to gain knowledge of. And you could, like I said, you could outsource and try to find someone who is willing to teach you, but that was a lengthy process. I mean, you still go through some of that lengthy process because you are still learning and gaining knowledge. But now there's other resources to us because technology has jumped. And so, therefore, it's a lot easier to, yeah, make your dreams come true and actually achieve these other things that you've wanted in life and not just stick to one thing. And so, with this process, I started thinking, well, if I don't even know how to do this for myself, how am I going to support my children if I have children? And how am I going to teach them how to do that or develop this skill that maybe I don't even know or have myself? And so that's where all of this came about. And now, and now I'm going to walk you through it. Yeah. So that maybe this will help you if you're struggling. I was never a goal setter. I was never really taught that you should focus on that or always have a goal or something in mind to achieve or learn. Be I I don't know exactly why. I guess it just fell through the cracks with my knowledge or education or with my parents teaching me things. Um but I do personally always feel better about myself when I am constantly working towards something. And I feel like I not only am gaining the knowledge, but yes, that I'm actually achieving something. And that makes me feel more fulfilled in my life. So now let's look at my board and walk through the process of planning to achieve. So for my first step, um, this is basically your interests. So you can either write this out as a bucket list or you can categorize them. And so some of the three sections that I have narrowed down as the top categories is either personal well being or mental health, physical, and knowledge. So, like I said, you can either put these three categories up and then start listing things, or you can do this like a bucket list. I typically do just a bucket list because it's like I don't typically care if I'm rotating through in these three categories or not. You can do it your way, whatever works best for you. So, like I said, I always had a lot of interests. As you can see, I've listed out a few for you. In my blog, with this process, I do go through a simpler example than what I'm going to do here on YouTube, and that's with archery. So, you can go ahead and go there if you want to read about that. I go through and I write through the steps as well. So, the second section for my process is resources and materials. And why I've lumped these two together is because sometimes you need actual equipment or other things in order to learn this knowledge or skill or to achieve your bigger outcome of the topic that you've selected for your goal. And so, once again, there are three sections that I have categorized for resources in particular. And the first one is internet. Now, you can find articles, and like I said, YouTube is a great resource now. Even doctors will refer back to videos that other doctors have made for surgeries and things like that, just so they can refresh their memory before a surgery, or if they're unsure about something, then they can go back and watch some videos. Um, I've gone through YouTube videos and I have tiled my own floor in my own home. So YouTube has become such a key resource now for any type of knowledge to achieve or learn a new skill. The second resource would be personal guidance. This is where you outsource. You can either find family members or maybe a friend knows someone that you can go to and ask questions. This one in particular has stood out to me. One of my friends said, "Oh, a ton of people in my family have semi gone into publishing and stuff like that. I've got a brother who's an editor, and I've got a sister who illustrates, and so they're all kind of in the publishing world." And so I was like, oh, that would be so great, a great resource if I could meet them or eventually make contact with them to ask them questions or whatever for my next book or whatever series I do next, or the process in general. And so that has been great. You can also, like I said, you can find college classes, or not even college courses. You can find specialists, or even just people who do it at home, who can give lessons or teach you. Books are always good. I do better with visual aids and being upfront with people, but some people are heavy book smart and they just read something and woo, they're able to do it. Me, I'd have to read through it a few times and then test it out, try it out, make sure I'm doing it right, to see if it works. And then I still might have to ask help or have visual aids. So it just depends on you and what works best for you. But these are the three main resources that I can think of. If you can think of any other ones, please write down in the comment. I would love to hear your opinion about things. Or if you have better ideas for resources than me, that would be great. Um, Share it with me, share it with the world. We can all use a helping hand. And literally, the next section is your steps. Try to write out in order what you think you need to do in your learning process. So, with publishing, of course, I was like, well, I first need to know not just about writing, but I need to know about different companies and different ways or different methods. And so I had to look up, my resources of where I could find out about, okay, what places do self-publishing, what companies can I get published through, and what is that process? Do I need to, how do I send in my manuscript? And so I wrote out what I thought I needed to learn, and then once again I went to my resources and I just started trying to find things, and then as I learned, I was either able to add or take things off of my steps list. Now, your steps list, you can check mark if you've completed something or cross it out. I love doing this because then it gives me a sense of hooray, I'm on to the next step, kind of like in a video game when you're like, woo, next level, or yay, I've received my coins. And I know that's silly, but it's those little happy perks that keep you going with things, right? That make you feel good that you're actually moving forward in this process and you are actually doing what you plan to achieve, or moving towards your end goal. Right now, I knew that with becoming an author, I would need to, of course, learn about more social medias or things that I could do to put myself out there so that my audience would know me or could know about my books. And I'm still learning about that, so it's not a complete like scratch out for me. It's more of just a check mark because I know that I can come back and do better, that I haven't completely mastered this step or I haven't completely finished this step. I am still learning about, like, I have some skills with Adobe Photoshop. Are they good? No, they're not as good as they used to be because I stopped using that skill. And if you stop using it, you lose it. Your skills are like muscles. If you don't continue to work out and exercise, then you start losing your muscle. And skills are the same way. I didn't use my skills for editing photos and creating digital work for years, and so I've forgotten a lot of things and my skill level has dropped, and I'm having to relearn some things. And so that skill right there is, once again, not a complete cross out for me. It's just a check mark because I'm still learning how to develop it better. This next section is basically a look back review. So, like I just mentioned, even though I've completed some things and I am now published, I am in my review stage. I'm going back and reviewing, okay, what's some things that I could learn and do better at to make my skills go up to the next level? Or is there something that I haven't learned or haven't implemented into my writing process or publishing process or my social media that I need to do or learn about or do better with? And so that's what I'm doing. I am totally still driving myself crazy with the fact that I want to do better thumbnails for my YouTube videos. So what am I going to do? I'm going to make sure that I plan out time, and I might redo all my thumbnails for my YouTube videos. But this would give me good practice and review and help me with my digital photo skills. For, of course, I will need to do a cover page for my next book. And I was planning on doing the cover for my first book, but my husband was so nice. And he saw the one that I really liked. And to save me time, we bought that cover. And so now, though, I still need to make and design a cover for my other books. And so, of course, I want to develop that skill so that I can make my own images for my book. So, review. Always review. You can always up your skills. This final step I wanted to add in here because it's so important to me. And I call it fighting off negativity. There are always going to be haters out there. There are always going to be people out there who want to give you advice, and it may come off wrong, or have an opinion. And, you need to know how you can handle that. How do you react to these negative comments, or to just maybe even your own self-doubt? I'm my worst critic, and I am probably my biggest nemesis when it comes to negativity and self-doubt and things like that. So I would say prepare now. Start thinking about how you react to things and how you can either react better or how you can counteract those hateful things that start coming into your life. You know, don't apologize for where you're at and what you have already accomplished. Everyone starts and begins somewhere. And there's always going to be that person that makes fun of you for being a newbie about something. You have to buck up and go, you know what? I'm okay being a newbie. I like being a newbie because this is what I wanted to do. And I'm glad that I'm actually here at step one, because now I'm actually moving forward. I'm not going backwards and I'm not staying idle. So don't apologize. Always say, I can do it. you know? Even though things get hard, it doesn't mean that you can't overcome it or do it. So say to yourself, I can do hard things. I've never been one for affirmations, but I guess that's what these kind of are. It really works for some people, but find what works for you. I love quotes. And I mean, not just quotes from books, but just from people in general. I have over 300 quotes, I think, on my phone that I am trying to actually write out in my own quote book that I just like because I take it to heart. It hits me in here, you know? At that time that I find that quote, it's like, yeah, that's how I'm feeling today. Or, ooh, that's absolutely true. Or it pumps me up and I'm like, yes, I need that positive little reminder there. And it just helps me. It just boosts me. So in a way, I guess that's also one of my things that I do throughout the day to help me stay positive and remind myself that I'm doing good and I don't need that negativity in my life. Because since I have chosen to be an author, like I said, I'm going to get bad reviews. You know, I'm going to constantly need help with editing or with what other people think about a certain section in my book so that I can improve and do better. But if I constantly always get upset or angry about someone's opinion, then that's just going to make myself and my life horrible and negative. It's almost like negative feeds negative or negative creates negative and positive create positive. If that makes any sense. Or at least that's what I've noticed with my own life. Other people are different, but it's also like how people say, "Oh, put those good positive vibes out there in in the universe." We don't need that negativity. Plan out now for, okay, if I make a mistake or something goes wrong, how am I going to handle it? Because if you think ahead or prepare ahead of time, then you're more likely to not only react better and handle the situation better, but maybe you're able to fix it quicker, or maybe not even have that problem because you planned and prepared ahead. So that's what I'm all about. I'm an overthinker. I plan ahead like crazy. Well, I hope walking through and seeing my process will also help you in your life. It doesn't matter what stage in life you're at, if you're younger to older, mapping out anything to achieve or continue to learn something is always going to improve your life. And don't forget to LSN, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button if you like this. Share my video with those around you and continue to stay positive. And I will see you next time. Bye bye.